All right. Now in Europe, Dave, we want to pivot.
Sure.
We got a couple headlines happening. Jesse Marsh at Leeds, United States of America, who recently brought on a third U.S. men's national team player,
Captain
Weston
coaching
McKennie.
America.
Yeah, got sacked yesterday.
Yeah.
Where's that today? I don't know.
Today, this morning.
Also, news dropped of Manchester City being there's allegations across over a span of 9 years of breaking financial fair play.
So the interesting
rules.
thing about that scenario is that Manchester City was already accused of by UEFA, European, the group that oversees all European football, UEFA, already brought charges against Man City and said that they were not compliant with the fair play rules and docked them the 2 years they suspended them from Champions League football. Now, Man City appealed that to the Court of Fair Sport Appeals, which is an international court. Weird. Who knew these things existed, but they do. And they won the appeal. So that got overturned, which is why they've been playing in the Champions League the last 2 years. And we thought, okay, they were fairly adjudged in a court, right? And they got out of it. So, moving on. It turns out, which I only learned this morning, that they only got out of that because they found a clause in the UEFA rules that said there was a statute of limitations basically on the number of years that you could go back and look at. And so they didn't argue that they were not guilty. They argued that they couldn't bring the charges because it happened before and the statute of limitations had run out. And they won based on that argument. So Carmen, you're a lawyer. What do you think? Got off on a technicality? What does that mean?
Yes, definitely got off on a technicality. Basically being like, all this stuff that happened more than 4 years ago, even though it shows you're guilty, we can't look at that. But you're guilty. And then the Premier League and somebody else comes in.
So the Premier League has the exact same fair play clause, but it does, or fair play rules, but it lacks that clause about the statute of limitations, apparently.
They can go back.
So that doesn't bode well for Man City, because if they were really innocent, they probably would have tried to get off of it by saying, look, we didn't do it. Right. They didn't try that. They tried to get off on saying you can't bring these charges because they're too old. So that doesn't bode well for Man City. I thought unfairly that they had gotten off because they were not guilty and that nobody, when I first saw these charges this morning, I'm like, that's not going to stick. They've already been ruled in the international court in their favor.
Right.
But it turned out that was only on the technicality.
I know I look like a simpleton, but when I see a team that has their third stringers just as good as Nottingham Forest, and you're like,
better than Nottingham Forest.
Why? What is the purpose of this financial fair play? How does this exist? You just signed
violating financial fair play. That's why.
And almost every other probably big team in the EPL has been doing it too.
True.
Juventus is doing it. I guarantee you, Real Madrid and Barcelona. I mean, that disaster has been doing it. I mean, it's a freaking joke, and nobody that likes soccer gives a flying bleep on it. They don't. Like, why should they hamstring any team for signing Erling Haaland? If they want to sign him, they have money, then let them play, because that's what we're getting. I mean, and then you got all these investigations on all these little lawyer rules. I mean, it's stupid. It's so stupid. Go ahead and hit the button again, because I'm just, what's the point? And it's probably breaking some other law for allowing a business to actually run like a business. They want to hire a player and pay him. If they got the money, why can't they, Dave?
Wow, that was a dual button. I like it. All right, so here's my thing. So first of all, let's compare and contrast to MLS. So MLS, because of the old NASL where the Cosmos and everything else were in, right? And I think it was Atlanta Chiefs. Is that the team?
Yeah.
I was from New York kid, so I don't know these things. But Mikey Dobbs apparently went to those games because he's about 60 years old.
I went to the Atlanta Attack games.
Oh, so did I.
With Drago.
Yarrow saying, no way.
Wow, you guys are probably at the same game.
We were the three people there.
And you were fighting over the T-shirt that they threw into the crowd.
Hell yeah.
Mikey Dobbs.
That's who I ran
Carmen.
into.
Carmen just boxed him out and got to. Okay, so because of all that, and because so what happened was they started a league, and the Cosmos, being from New York, had all kinds of money and backing, and they just went and bought the greatest team in the history of soccer. Pele and Naskins and all these players played for Cosmos, and they just kicked the crap out of everybody else. And it was awesome. They had sometimes 70,000 at a game, but the league went bankrupt in like 2 years. Yeah. So when MLS started, they said, that's not going to happen. We got to do it. So they have had a very, very strict salary cap.
Yeah.
Right. And that doesn't allow the clubs to get in bidding wars about players because there's a salary cap, right? Because normally, basically capitalism, it drives up the price, right? So because of that, the MLS has, I think it really helped us survive as a league in the early years. They have now opened the purse strings a little bit by having designated players, and those can go over the salary cap. So that's how you can sign.
So the purpose of this whole fiscal responsibility in the MLS makes total sense because of what you're saying, so that the league can at least get on a stage where it can survive into the foreseeable future.
Now
we're at the point with MLS where you've got people who want to invest enough, like Miami and Atlanta, to where Miami gets busted for bending the rules that people don't understand. The same way people don't understand the rules of financial fair play, you're going to continue to try to bend the rules to win. And even more so, I think, for European football, it doesn't even matter.
Europe has had a history. There's been some Premier League teams, for example, was not in the Premier League era, before the Premier League era, that spent so much money and went bankrupt. And so they have had rules for a long time that if you are basically in financial arrears, if you're bankrupt, then you can get docked points, and to avoid this, right?
But if you aren't financially responsible as a European football club, you just fall to the bottom leagues like Leeds United did, and then you've got to build your way back up over 10 years to earn your way back.
Here's the counter example. Like,
how is that not the way it should work?
The current Barcelona situation, right? Barcelona was just spending ridiculous amount of money on all these players, right? And Barcelona had no problem with income, right? They have a huge amount of income coming in, and they're still bankrupt because they spend $1 zillion on all these players, right? And so they're trying to avoid that. The whole point of financial fair play is like, look, if you are a fantastic club and you have a huge audience and you can convince, Chevrolet to be on the front of Manchester United jerseys for $100 million, which is supposedly what they paid or something just to be on the jersey, right? Good for you. Go for it. But they just say that, okay, you have to be somewhat financially responsible so that if you're bringing that in, you can only spend that. And Barcelona, God bless them, was bringing in a ton of money and still overspent it.
It's their company, it's their business.
Yeah, but now they're bankrupt. So now what?
Good. Then go out of business. You want
a team that wins the title to disappear?
That's how it works. You're financially irresponsible. You go out of business.
So you think Barcelona could win the title this year and next year not exist as a club?
If the people who run it are financially irresponsible, that's what should happen. Instead of trying to make up some bullcrap super league to protect you from some financial irresponsibility that you just want to continue to hide behind.
But the whole point of this is just to protect them from themselves, right? To say, all right, you won't want to get into a bidding war all the time. And there has to be a limit to it so that, that if we're bringing in this much revenue, we can't have the 6th consecutive bidding war and spend $100 million like they did on, whatchamacallit from Liverpool, the Brazilian guy, Coutinho, right? And how did that work out?
But I have no problem with these clubs going out of business for making bad business decisions. That's how it works. That's how business works. You make the wrong bets on your employees to produce the end result.
But I don't really think the financial fair play rules really. I think what what I thought you were going to object to more to is, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, is that, you don't want to have basically the right, if you're a major club, to be able to go out and spend, $100 million on Holland. And I believe they should do that. If you're a big club and can bring in that revenue, go for it. But, I'm not sure we should be in an era where people just bid up players for no reason. Everybody pays too much.
People?
And then,
it's a business.
Yeah, sure.
It's not people. It's a business.
It's
a business. It's not people.
I agree.
They're hiring employees and they're trying to make a profit. And if they don't make a profit, and that continues over a number of years, bad things happen.
But what happens is that, somebody will make a ridiculous bid for, not such a great player, and it drives up the price, right? And then somebody pays it, and then suddenly 2 years around the road, now like all these clubs are going bankrupt.
Yeah. Like that's what happens in normal businesses too. If the talent you have to think about it and make the right decision.
Yeah, but the difference between a normal business and a club, right, is the club.
It is a normal business.
I know, but a club also belongs to a city, to the fans, to the people, and it has a huge impact. I mean, you've been watching Wrexham, right?
Yeah, they're
Look
fans
at what happened to Wrexham. It killed, part of the city, right?
Correct.
So there's a slight different thing there than a normal business.
Well, the slight difference is that there's actually fans of businesses, which is weird, right? Like early days, you could say early 5 years of Google, people were fans of Google, and look how that's turned on them. Everybody hates Google now. But you could say they were the darling of the tech the first 5 years. I was Google. So I'm just equating it to that, right?
Okay.
Over time, what happens is a business is going to be accountable, and they have to be accountable to stockholders and all that stuff. If you're the big dogs.
Okay.
Simple.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with
just
fair
because
play.
people are emotionally invested in the business. Yeah, I can
Carmen, what do you think about fair play? Do you think it's okay to exist or no?
I'm torn on this one.
She's a lawyer. So come on.
I know. I am torn on this one. I kind of lean towards Mikey Dobbs in the sense that they're business. I know it's weird, but it's businesses, and you just whoever gets it done, gets it done.
Okay.
I mean, isn't that the whole point of relegation and promotion? These poor guys.
I do agree with
especially Wrexham.
I mean, one thing you will say.
Let's take the Rob and
Ryan
example, right?
Mm-hmm.
They spent $2.5 million on a non-league team.
Right.
Peanuts. What do you think people spent on buying the Wolves? I don't know what conglomerate.
Well, right now they're talking about Man United
oil
like
company.
What, $5-8 billion?
Something like that.
Right. So I mean, literally like 2.5 million versus 500 billion, right? I mean, it's not even. We're not even talking. So all the power to those guys for being able to go up against a Sheffield United championship team, which is 70 teams above, and even compete.
Well, they realized the flaw in the system, which is you could buy a team at 2.5 million, and then you could spend all this money.
I think they're realizing what I'm saying is these big teams are going to have to deal with the fact that they have to run their club. It ain't a club. It's a business. You're not running a club that's here for the community. You got to actually make money. You got to make money first and foremost.
Okay.
It's sad.
All
I
right.
know.
Well,
hate me for it.
I don't know.
Why do I
Hit us up.
Why do I have to be the bad guy?
You're not a bad guy.
Somebody should put a straitjacket on this guy.